You are listening to House of Football, brought to you by Sports Joe.
Welcome along to episode 28 of House of Football with Sports Joe. I'm Eric Lalor. Another weekend of Premier League action has come and gone. Wolves broke Manchester City hearts, VAR broke Liverpool hearts, and Manchester United look more broken than ever. But now, on to the episode. I'm thrilled and delighted and honoured to announce that my guest today is legendary comedian, actor and author, Mr. Ardal O'Hanlon. Ardal, it's so great to have you in. How are you?
Eric, it's great to be here. Any excuse to talk football.
Oh, yes. And
with the experts.
Well, I don't know about that, but one of the things I always remember us doing a few gigs up north way back. It was actually, do you know why I remember this? Me and you did a gig up in Armagh, and you picked me up in Ballymun one day, and it was the day Jerry Ryan died. That always sticks in my head. And I remember the journey going up with you and the journey back, and all we did was talk about football. And I went, you know who I'd love to get on this podcast? Ardal O'Hanlon. So this is why you're here, Ardal.
That's great.
So Ardal, fans of the podcast are used to us bringing on ex-players and internationals and all that, and they were like, what's Ardal O'Hanlon? But Ardal, you were
a player.
You were a player as well. You played for Orwell FC.
I did, yeah.
Back in the day.
Before that, I played on the street in Carrickmacross in my hometown. We had these epic games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just like, that's all we did. I'm sure it was the same with yourself, like from morning to night, literally like 8-hour long games, 44, 27.
And there were like 20 aside.
20 aside. So on my little street, Molinari in Carrickmacross, there was warehouses on one side of the road, and then there was a pig farm right next to us. So one goals was the gate of the pig farm, and the other goals was about 4 times bigger. It was the huge big warehouse doors. So it was just great though. 20 aside, playing with the neighbours, like Donnelly's on one side, Conlon's on the other.
Brilliant memories.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I suppose that's when you look at the modern footballer these days, are like coached within an inch of their life, and people yearn for the days of the street footballer.
Yeah,
if you will.
And you were playing in your shoes as well.
Yeah.
So you had to, by the time you got runners or football boots, that was you were good.
Your technique was good in your George Webbs or your Doc Martens or whatever. Yeah. Ardal, obviously as well, one of your favourite, your team is Leeds United.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit how that came about? Or
well, I suppose when you're 7 is when you, I suppose, fall in love with a football team, or you're forced to choose eventually. And I think it was a combination of factors. Number one, it was some of the people on my street were Leeds fans, some of the bigger, better footballers.
So the ones you look up to.
Yeah. I suppose the main reason Leeds were really good at the time, they'd won the league in 74, they won the cup in 72. I suppose 72 was probably my earliest memory of a proper football match. And then
it was that great Don Revie team, wasn't it?
It was the great Don Revie team. And I suppose the main reason was Giles, was probably he was the best player in the world as far as I was concerned at that time. And even now, looking back, I still can't think of many better players than him. Yeah. He literally had everything. And
Did you pretend to be Johnny Giles when you were a kid?
No, I was more flamboyant than Giles, and less effective. He was just brilliant. He was the metronome of that Leeds team, and he was 2-footed. He was tigerish in the tackle. Yeah. Great singing voice as well,
really,
which is not hugely relevant.
Okay, but I'm interested to find out how you know that.
He was a fantastic crooner. Yeah, one of my happiest memories was so that 72 team. So 30 years later, 2002, there was an event in City West Hotel in Dublin celebrating that team, and a few of the players who came before and after. So literally every player from that mid-70s team was there, apart from Bremner, who had died, and Revie, the manager, who had also died. But everyone else was there: Charlton, Hunter, Clark, Reaney, Madeley. Wow. So that amazing team from the 70s.
So I say Barry Murphy was there, which was
Barry Murphy was there. Yeah. We all did little speeches and little tributes, and then there was a sing song afterwards. That's how I know Giles is a great singer. But then to meet them all, and they were all so wonderful and humble. Because at the time they had a reputation for being really arrogant, and but they weren't like that at all. They were just fantastic, humble, down to earth people. They all lived with it near the training ground. They used to get the bus to matches, to training. Giles, in his autobiography, talks about the first time he played for Ireland. He got a bus in from the airport to the Gresham, and he met the players for the first time ever at dinner in the Gresham. Wow. And then they went out to Dalymount to play a match.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's just different. But anyway, so I fell in love with Leeds for that reason. There was also another reason, which is kind of, I mean, my father was a Man United fan. And so I suppose...
Was it a little rebellious
This is getting
thing
very
almost?
confessional now, yeah. It was a bit of rebellion going on there as well. So there's loads of reasons. I mean, it's very hard to pinpoint one reason, but...
Conversely, that's the exact same reason I follow Manchester United. My dad's a big Leeds fan.
Oh, really?
So when I got to the age of 5 or 6, you're watching TV and you're looking at the successful teams. And the reason Manchester United were successful at the time, Ardal, was because they'd been relegated. And they're in what's known as the Championship now, but was Division 2 back in the day.
Yeah.
And they were walking away with the Championship. Like, oh, no, they're a great team. And I knew my dad had a particular dislike to them.
Yeah.
So I said, no, Manchester United are my team, and that's the way it's ever been ever since. So there we go. There's a little parallel there for us, Ardal.
Yeah.
There might be one later on. I'll tell you about it in a little while. So, I mean, it's a tortured vocation, I suppose, being a Leeds fan.
Yeah, it's always been tortured. I mean, Leeds fans, like, notoriously feel like they've been robbed over the years. Like, I mean, 73 against Sunderland. Sorry, we're going really way back in time.
Go for it.
Apologies to younger listeners.
This is therapy session as well.
So, I mean, the most notable, I suppose, blatant robbery was the 1975 European Cup final. You know, Leeds were in it, playing Bayern Munich.
In Paris, wasn't it?
In Paris, yeah. The Leeds fans did disgrace themselves slightly by ripping up the seats and everything else, but there was a good reason for it. I mean, you know, and I think it has come to light in later years that the officials had been bought.
Wow.
You know, so and Leeds were really good. That was their best chance to do it, you know, on the biggest stage in Europe, and they never quite got there.
That was their zenith at the time.
That was their
that
zenith.
team.
So, and then I moved to London in sort of mid-90s, 1990s, 94. So the first time I saw Leeds live was just after the Howard Wilkinson.
Okay.
So they won the league miraculously in 1992, which is
still breaks
with a
my heart,
really
Ardal.
rubbish team.
Yeah.
You know,
Lee Chapman and the boys.
yeah. but you know, Wilkinson had got them playing for each other, and they had the little X factor with Cantona towards the end of the season. And they had an amazing midfield. So they had McAllister, who was an incredible player, Gary Speed, Batty and Strachan. I mean, it's still, to this day, I think it's one of the best balanced midfields I've ever seen.
Four brilliant players.
Four brilliant players who
Complemented each
all
other.
brought something very different to it. Like McAllister, totally underrated player, amazing player.
And you went on to do great things at Liverpool then as
He
well.
did, yeah. But he was just, he's just a super player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just wonderful. So,
do you remember the first match you saw them playing live?
yeah, I do actually. It was away to QPR, so it was Loftus Road. Yeah, so that was. So I had this ambition as soon as I went to London. I'm going to go and visit all the grounds in Britain. I mean, this was always a childhood ambition. So I got around to as many of them as possible, particularly the London ones, I suppose. So yeah, away to QPR. QPR fans were very upset at the time with their management and with their board. So they had a big protest at half time, and the police came on horseback to clear that. So that was my first ever sort of, I suppose, Premier League match.
Welcome to the Premier League. Horses on the pitch at half time.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But I used to carry a little piece of Ellen Road turf around with me. So somebody, like, you know, some older person who'd been to Leeds had brought back a little bit of turf for me. And so
How did you get that?
He was on the pitch after, and he just dug it up.
Because I know
With his
Barcelona are
hands.
doing that at the moment.
yeah.
They're like, because the stadium's getting renovated, they cut up the pitch and they're selling them in little boxes to their fans, and they're obviously making a lot of money because obviously they do need the money. So I just thought it was
But
one
your
of them
Bows
things.
were doing that with bulbs from their
from the lights, yeah,
the lights,
and
yeah.
and the old seats from the old stand as well, yeah. Listen, Bows, you know, we've enough money now, so no more warm up gigs for them anymore, Ardal. We're fed up saving League of Ireland clubs.
No.
We saved Dundalk, we saved Bows.
Yeah.
And
You've
there's
saved the League of Ireland single-handedly, Eric.
many times we've saved the League of Ireland. Just on the League of Ireland, Ardal, I remember in passing talking to you before. I think you said to me you've been down to Dalymount a few times to watch Bows, and I often wondered what the connection was for you. But then obviously it came from your college days, was it? And when you were in
Even
DCU
earlier,
and
even
HE?
earlier. And again, I would say it was the same reason why I sort of leaned towards Leeds. It was like Bows were a really big team, 72, 73,
Yeah,
74. I remember Turlock O'Connor.
Oh yeah, Turlock, what a legend.
And there was just something about Dalymount. You know, like I used to, from a very early age, 12, 13, I used to hitch from Carrickmount Cross to Dalymount for pre-season matches. So the big teams like Liverpool, and
yes, of
Tottenham
course.
would come
They were the
over.
only times we'd ever get to see them.
The only time you'd ever get to see them. So I remember like Liverpool playing a League of Ireland selection there, and I remember Tottenham playing. I don't know who Tottenham played, but they played someone with Hoddle and Ardal and all these guys. So, so this was your only chance to see them. So as a little wide-eyed football fanatic, I used to hitch from Carrick to Dublin and go to Dalymount. So I always liked Dalymount. Bows were a big team at the time, so I always had a soft spot for Bows. And then when I did live in Dublin, I used to go there the odd time. And then later on, in a little sort of I can't pretend to be a League of Ireland, fan. I don't go that often, so to my shame, okay, I admit.
That's
I admit
okay.
that
That's
this
okay.
is very
You're
confessional.
a busy man.
This is very confessional. But so I did this show, Father Ted, which I'm sure you've heard of, and one of the electricians on the crew was Derek Swan.
No way.
Yeah. So Derek was one of the electricians, and I was very friendly with Derek, and he was playing for Bows at the time.
Yeah. He's like one of our legendary strikers.
Yeah, he was
his
brilliant.
day.
So, and his dad, Tony Swan, was the gaffer on this particular crew, who I think he certainly played for Drogheda United. I'm not sure if he ever played for Bows.
Okay.
But he was a goalie.
Right.
So anyway, so I used to go and see Derek playing there as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because they used to do this little thing for Bows as well. It was this YouTube thing they ran during COVID where I'd interview ex-players, and we had Derek on as one of the guests.
Yeah.
And his son went on to play for Bows then as well.
Right, yeah.
And he's playing up in Northern Ireland now in the Irish League up there with Dungannon Swifts or something like that.
Yeah.
But great character, Derek. So that's your connection with the League of Ireland. Do you like? I mean, I know you say you can't call yourself a fan, but you obviously went to Dalymount. You've seen Bows. Do you check the results and all that? Would you?
I keep
watch
an
a
eye
match
on
if it was
things
on?
like, so I have a very good friend who's a Shelbourne fan, so I used to go with him a lot to see Shells. I mean, I always love it. It's always a great occasion, but I'm just not a regular match goer. Yeah. I don't even go to that many Leeds matches anymore, or that many Premiership matches. I'm at that age now where I prefer to sit down in front of the TV and
a bit of comfort. Yeah.
I still go and see Ireland. Last match I went to see was Ireland Gibraltar.
I was there as well.
Worst match I've ever seen in my life.
I know. But a win's a win, Ardal.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, we will. So you're obviously a big Irish fan. Sorry, before we leave that, you played for what position did you play in Ardal? Do you mind asking?
Well, I mean, my narrative is probably different from all the people I played with. But I played in the hole.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You
were this creative flair genius.
Yeah, but just, nothing ever really changed from my childhood. Like I felt I could do plenty of things with the ball, but in the United Churches League, you didn't have the room to express yourself. You didn't have the space at the time that I needed. But no, I loved at college, I never, to my lasting regret, I didn't play properly. So I never really played for a proper team. At school, I played a bit. Always played street football. Always played five-a-side. Always played every day. But I never played at a proper level. Right. So, lots of people would think the United Churches League was not a proper level. But for me, there was goals, real goals, and
it was organised football.
Marked,
yeah,
and there was
exactly.
a referee, and there was an opposition with moustaches and beer bellies who wanted to kill you. So, it felt real. So I did that after I left college, and I was living in actually just down the road from here where we are today. And myself and my friend, we signed up for Orwell, and we played every Saturday, and it was just brilliant to do that for a year or two, for 2 or 3 years. Is
that how long it lasted? About 3 years or so?
Yeah, because then I moved to London.
Oh, okay.
So
did you play
this was the early days of comedy in Dublin. So when I was doing the Comedy Cellar in the International Bar for that few years, sort of early 20s, and then it was just a box ticked, I suppose. It was to do it, to see, because like, you can shine in certain contexts when you're playing football, and you think you're great, and then the harsh reality sets in when you're actually playing against fellas who it means an awful lot to.
Oh, I know.
But it's great, and it's a good test, and I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Did you play in those Cat Laughs matches?
Yeah, I played in the very first one.
Yeah,
scored a hat trick.
Did you really? Mm-hmm. I missed that one.
Yeah,
I was a bit late to the party.
I have no evidence.
I actually, do you know what I scored? Tommy Tiernan said it's the greatest goal he's ever saw at the Cat Laughs. I scored a goal like that one time, and somebody caught it on the camera phone. And I don't know, I have lost a copy, but I'm going to put out an Instagram post there. Whoever has that footage, please show it, because I'd like to dine out on that again. It was. I mean, I look back at it and go, my God, Eric, that was.
I
a
know,
good
but isn't
strike.
it amazing, Eric, that like these are the things you cling to.
Yeah, I know.
As you get older.
All
I promise I scored a brilliant goal in a meaningless match in Kilkenny 15 years ago.
With a load of hungover comedians. Yeah. Please validate me. So you mentioned you're a big fan of Ireland, obviously, being an Irish football fan. Your thoughts on the current team, and particularly Stephen Kenny and what he's trying to do and the situation he's in at the moment?
I was really hoping you wouldn't ask me that. Do I have to commit? Well, I mean, I love the team. I always loved the Ireland team. I'm really impressed by the Irish fans generally, how tolerant they are of the current regime, how realistic they are. They're not giving Stephen Kenny a hard time, particularly. You know, you go to the matches, they're just being realistic. Like, we all know this is not the best Irish team in history. We all know that they're playing out of their skins. They're doing everything possible to get results. So, I applaud that. I admire that. I love them. And I wish them well. I think Stephen Kenny is an idealist, and that's not necessarily what we need. I think his intentions are brilliant. He's got a philosophy, a way of playing football that is to be admired. But is he experienced enough as a manager to manage an international team, trying to qualify for major tournaments? Like, this is serious stuff. And as Irish fans, like, while yes, we want to see the team being ambitious and trying to play an expansive type of football, we also want to qualify for tournaments.
Yeah,
and
a bit more pragmatism, maybe.
A bit more pragmatism here and there, like the playing out from the back thing. With they are brilliant players. I mean, Nathan Collins is an incredible player, and he's well able to play out of the back. And in 3 or 4 years' time, he'll be one of the stars of the Premier League. You've no doubt. But it's a big ask, for players to be playing out of the back against really great sides, and
then getting exposed, as we have been numerous occasions.
Yeah. Incidentally, little footnote, I have to just mention it. So my son played for this team, Beechwood.
Okay.
I used to coach them.
Beechwood, yeah. I came across them a couple of times. The Beerstown area? Kind of Dunleary area?
Ranelagh, kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Ranelagh, Rathmines area. Homeless, though. Never had their own ground, so we're always kind of nomadic. But it was a beautiful setup, and my son played with them since the age of 5. So I coached for a few years. Most thankless job I've ever done in my life. No authority whatsoever.
Was it a schoolboy team you were coaching? Yeah.
It was under 7s, under 8s, under 9s.
Cool.
A bunch of dads. We did the kind of kickstart coaching thing.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And our tutor was David Collins, who's Nathan Collins' dad.
Wow.
So who played for Liverpool for a long time.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I think he was captain of the reserves for a long time in Liverpool. Lovely guy, David, and brilliant man. He also was a sort of executive coach of Beechwood for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, so he'd come in once a month, or our team would get him once a month. And once or twice, when David wasn't available, Nathan would come.
No way.
Yes.
Wow. And he was on the upward trajectory coming through the system.
Well,
at that time.
he was only 15 or 16 at the time.
He would have been playing probably schoolboy international football at that
Probably
stage.
was at that time. I didn't know. I didn't really know.
okay.
We just knew that was David's son. So just a tiny little connection.
You weren't thinking, there's a future Premier League footballer?
No.
No.
I had no idea.
Nice. Sticking with the Irish team, Ardal, obviously we've done our research. I've done my research on you just to get some tasty questions. And I read somewhere that you proposed to your lovely wife Melanie just before an Irish World Cup match.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what World Cup match this was and when?
I can tell you that, yes. So it was 1994. It was World Cup in the USA. It was just before the Ireland-Italy match. So I was living in London at the time. My wife was, my then girlfriend was still living in Dublin. And I'd come home. I was coming home to watch the matches in Ireland.
Was that you
with my
purposely
friend.
said I'm going home to watch the match?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so she was picking me up from the airport the morning of the Ireland-Italy match, and I had sort of in my head I was going to propose to her after the match. I thought it'd be, because we were going to watch it with a big bunch of our oldest friends, and I thought it'd be a really nice place to do it in our friend's house. And but I got overexcited because of the occasion that was in it, and we were coming down through Drumcondra from Dublin Airport into town, and I think it was outside Toolin Travel. I seem to remember, or that's what she remembers anyway. You proposed to me outside Toolin Travel.
You all romantic.
I just blurted it out.
Well,
You had a similar story.
I do. This is the thing. I wanted to find out exactly the match, Ardal, because it's bizarre, because I proposed to my wife on the same day.
Wow.
But it was after the match. And again, it was
See, you're a man of great restraint.
No, I think I was blown away by the euphoria of the game.
Yeah.
And I used to do a little piece of me stand-up saying, you know, anyone I would have asked in the immediate aftermath of that match would have said yes if I'd asked them to marry me, but thankfully she was the first person I asked, But it's just so strange that we both proposed to our wives on the same day.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
And it's around football. And in fact, I mean, I'd like to stress to you, Eric, that I am a well-rounded individual. I'm interested in books and art and architecture and all sorts. I have a wide range of interests, but our honeymoon did also revolve around football.
Oh wow! I'll tell you something as well. So
we went to Barcelona. So no way.
I went to Barcelona.
You're joking.
I swear to God. And Jason Bourne and his wife came on the honeymoon with us.
Jesus.
They were at my wedding, right? And Jason says to me, "Where's your honeymoon?" And I says, "We're going to Barcelona tomorrow." And he goes, "No way." And I says, "What?" He says, "I'm flying to Madrid tomorrow to do a gig, but the night after that, I'm doing a gig in Barcelona." And I went, "No way." And myself and the missus and his were good friends, and they flew out. And Brenda, of course, rang my wife and said, "I can't believe he's after inviting us onto your honeymoon." And we were like, "It's grand. We've been engaged 15 years. We've run out of things to talk about this stage, We
were not engaged for 15 years, but we were together for 15 years.
Okay.
Before we went as well. And also our best friends came with us on our honeymoon.
Is there anybody casting a sitcom out there with pre-cynic? Because I'm ready. But come here. We went to see. We were over there in Barcelona, and myself and Jason, because the wives were together, they didn't mind. They went off shopping and went drinking wine and whatever. And myself and Jason got tickets for El Clasico, Barca and Real Madrid in the new camp, and it was one of the most.
Yeah. We went to see Barcelona Espanyol. So
the local Barcelona derby.
It was just amazing.
Did you bring Melanie with you?
Oh yeah. And in fact, that was a really good move on my part, because she wasn't a mad football fan, but she was really interested in the whole spectacle of it all. So anytime we went on holidays, then anywhere, I could always say, hey, we're in Rome. Do you fancy going to the Stadio Olimpico?
We're just reliving the honeymoon.
Sure, yeah, because she really loved the whole occasion and everything. And mind you, I did bring her to a Celtic Rangers match once, and we couldn't get tickets together.
Oh wow!
So she was sitting a few rows back.
I thought you were going to say she was sat in the Rangers end.
Yeah, no, but she I think she wasn't in a hurry to go to football matches after that. But no, it was just brilliant, because that was another big. I loved Barcelona as a kid as well. I was mad about Cruyff. Cruyff was my first ever hero.
Yeah.
Had a shoot annual in 1974, and I think he was on the cover of it in a Barcelona strip. And since then, the romance of it, the idea of Barcelona, I just loved.
I was a romantic about Barcelona for many years, and I don't know what's changed though. I think over the last few years, Ireland, I've taken I don't know if it's a dislike towards them. It's just the way the club is run, and and almost kind of siding with Real Madrid now at this stage, which is bizarre, because I hated Real Madrid back in the day, and now I'm kind of going, no, actually, you know what? They're not the bad guys here. It's Barcelona who are the bad guys.
It's this. No, I'm still a Barcelona fan and member, a member of the club. But so I'm part of the problem. But yeah, no, it is really, really disappointing what they've done. The financial engineering and the corruption and everything.
Well, speaking of rivalries, Ardal, one of the greatest gigs, and I'm still jealous to the back teeth that you got this gig back in 2006. You did a show called Leagues Apart.
That's right.
Billy McGrath.
Yeah.
going around Europe to amazing cities to look at the big football rivalries out there.
Yeah.
And just can you talk to us a little bit about that, Ardal, your memories of it, and which one of those matches really stood out for you?
Well, it was like the whole thing was a labour of love, and again, it was a childhood ambition. So, like, when Billy McGrath came to me and said, "Have you got any ideas for a show?" and I went, "Well, this is the show I've wanted to make since I was a child. I wanted to because I love travel and I love football and I love culture, and I always thought like that." Saying I love culture is such a stupid thing, but I love all the things that make up a culture. So and I always think football is a great window into the soul of a nation.
Yeah,
and it's a great door opener. Conversations about football, especially for men. And so while so this show is about football, it's about football rivalries, but it's also about I suppose the fault lines in a society, like what makes you pick one team or the other, when you go to a place. So you learn a lot about the history of the country, and just what makes a country tick. And, so we went to, so the big ones were obviously Real Madrid, Barcelona, which is not strictly a city rivalry, but it's, there's a big political story there. We went to Rome, Lazio Roma, which was great. We went to Holland, which again was a city, it was Feyenoord of Rotterdam and Ajax of Amsterdam, which again tells you an awful lot about that country, the cosmopolitan Amsterdam and the kind of more, salt of the earth port city of Rotterdam. And then where did we go? We did a few more of the obscure ones in Athens. There's a fantastic one, Panathinaikos and Olympiakos. And then we did Istanbul, which was always one I wanted to go to, Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. And then we did one, a very kind of obscure one in Krakow, in Poland. Wisła, and I can never really pronounce it. Wisła, Krakow, and Cracovia.
Okay, so that was the Krakow derby.
The Krakow derby, yeah. So that was amazing. So they were all absolutely amazing for different reasons.
I think that's where Pope John Paul II was born.
Yeah, it was. And he was associated with the Cracovia club in some way. Whether he was on their books as a kid or not, as a goalie, I do not know.
He was a goalkeeper, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a goalkeeper. And he was supposed to be quite good. He was a good sportsman. He was a skier as well, I think. But not a good Pope, though.
So many saves and crosses, puns I could stick in there, but we won't go there. But which one of those, Ardal, do you mind me asking, was your
I
one
suppose
that really
the Barcelona one was,
okay,
because that's the one I was so, I suppose, invested in emotionally and personally.
Because of the Cruyff thing and all that.
Cruyff thing, everything about it was amazing. It was also like a brilliant Barcelona team playing a brilliant Madrid team. So it was a really good game to go to, apart from anything else.
Was it the year of the Galacticos, maybe?
It was, yeah, it was. Ronaldinho, Deco, Eto'o.
Ah, yeah.
I remember Eto'o. I remember we were at the training ground like just a few days before it, and Eto'o was in his Hummer coming along.
In a Hummer?
In a Hummer. So he drove into training in a Hummer.
He could have brought the whole team with him.
He could have, yeah. But he couldn't. Like, what was really funny was like this really cool player in this really cool car, but because it's a Hummer, he couldn't actually turn into the
car
underground car park. So it was like about a 7-point turn. So it was really embarrassing.
I love that. Is there did you get to meet any big stars during that series?
Well, in the Olympiacos one, so that's I met what do you call him, Rivaldo. So he was playing for Olympiacos. So this is 4 years after his magnificent triumph at the 2002 World Cup, where he was probably player of the tournament.
Yeah, easily.
And so there's a little bit of a preamble to this. So in 2002, I went away to see Ireland play Lisbon, to play Portugal in Lisbon.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm jet lagged. And it was an amazing occasion for so many different reasons. But the first reason was so I flew from London to Lisbon. I arrive at the airport and I join a queue, the taxi queue. And standing right beside me is Rivaldo. That's no word of a lie.
Okay, and then you realised this, and you're like, oh my god!
Oh, immediately! Like, I mean, he's unmistakable.
Yeah,
I mean, he's one of the most iconic people in the world. Never mind footballers. So he's standing there. He's holding a baby in his arms. I presume it's his own baby. His baby girl drops her blanket on the ground. I pick it up. I pick up Rivaldo's daughter's blanket.
What a man.
And I say, there you go, Rivaldo. She dropped that. And he kind of smiles at me and whatever else. And I'm going, yeah, me and Rivaldo, we're mates for life now. So I'm so thrilled. I mean, this exceeds your wildest dreams. Like, first of all, I'm going to Lisbon to see Ireland play. I'm going to meet my friends who are coming from Dublin. It's going to be a brilliant weekend. It was already shaping up to be the best weekend ever because I met Rivaldo. So then 4 years later, I'm doing this. So we spend this great week in Athens finding out all about Greek history. Like, the whole history of Olympiacos is amazing. So Olympiacos is a port city in Athens.
Greece.
In Greece, sorry.
It's okay, Ireland. Jet lagged.
I know. Piraeus is the kind of the little suburb of Athens where Olympiacos are based. And the reason why Olympiacos came into being in the 1920s was after World War One, the Ottoman Empire collapses. There's a huge Greek minority who've been living for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, in Turkey. They're all expelled from Turkey, haven't known nowhere else, haven't lived there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they all moved to this port city of Piraeus, and they formed social clubs and sports clubs, basketball and everything else, and a football club, Olympiacos. So that's the history.
That's the origins of Olympiacos.
Which is incredible, yeah. So it's the Greek diaspora coming home to Greece in the early 20s. So it's just, I knew nothing about this.
Yeah.
So you're learning all this as you're going along. And we always didn't want to speak to footballers. We always wanted to speak to writers and musicians and, and comedians. I would always go and speak to the local comedian wherever we were as well, because they often have a very good take on things, But anyway, so we're in the training ground in Olympiacos, and I see Rivaldo jogging around the pitch on his own. So I run over to him with the camera and everything, and I go, "Hey, Rivaldo, remember me? I gave you your daughter's blanket back to you." And he's just looking at me going, "Get him away from me."
Who's this madman? Oh, that's brilliant. Imagine you actually did. I do remember,
Yeah.
I'll never forget you. I've always wanted to meet you again.
I know. Yeah.
Thank you properly.
In fact, I owe you for that gesture.
Actually, we're going to give you the number 15 jersey. You're on the bench tonight. So you mentioned you're just back from was it America, Canada?
I did a tiny little tour of the US and Canada. Yeah, so it was Vancouver, Minneapolis, Chicago, and then Toronto.
It's. Do you know what? The last time I saw you doing a gig, Ardal, was in the Ivy Gardens at that glorious comedy festival. It was last year, and I've seen you so many times over the years, but I think now, I don't know what it is, I see you now on stage and I think it's the best version I've ever seen of you.
Wow, thank you. Glad
there's a real, I don't know, no, I'm not saying you were uncomfortable on stage, but there's a real comfort, it seems, in your demeanour when you're on stage. It looks like you're enjoying it. You look confident. The jokes are sharp and witty. You respond if something happens. And I was looking at you going, geez, there's Ardal O'Hanlon at the peak of his powers. Do you feel anything different in the last while? Or?
Yeah, well, I mean, thank you very much. Yeah, I definitely did feel there was a gear change over the last few years, for sure. Like, I've been doing stand-up since I was in my early 20s, and I like sometimes it's been, I suppose, more satisfying than others. There's been times where you're happier with your show, your material, or just your general confidence, or whatever it is. But in recent years, I just had definitely got a new lease of life, and I think it's partly to do with aging and just, I suppose, not caring as much what people think, and I suppose not trying to please everyone or whatever, please yourself first and foremost. But also, I think it was definitely COVID as well. It was that whole period. The reset, yeah. Like the reset. It was like life is short and life is fragile, and it's delicate, and you got to make the most of it. And again, it's part of aging as well. Is like I don't know how long more I'm going to be doing this for. Will I have the energy for it in 5 or 10 years' time? So make the most of every show. And I think the key thing is being really present. And I think I always take inspiration from footballers and from sports psychology and all that as well. So it's very much being in the moment, being present. So being alive to anything that happens in the room.
I heard an interview you did before about some tennis book. Was it a tennis book or something?
Yeah.
And where you got a lot of inspiration from.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but the tennis book is Zen or something.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant book, because I play tennis now, because since I stopped playing football, I took up tennis, and it's definitely improved my life in lots of ways. But one of them was, it is that like just being in the moment thing. If you have a bad shot or whatever, you just you have to leave that park immediately and stay in the moment for the next shot.
I suppose you could attribute that to on stage. If something doesn't really work, you don't sweat about it. You move on to the next bit.
You move on, absolutely. And it's also, the other thing I would say is you as a performer, I think you always struggle with confidence. It's always an issue. And you can fake it sometimes, or sometimes you can't fake it, and it's not always there. But it's about like taking your time, and I take more time and try and sell everything a bit better than I used to, instead of rushing through it and just get this bit over and get on to this bit, and
I'll be off home before they know it.
Be off home, So it is about really enjoying it, treasuring it, because it is a privilege.
Yeah, it is, really is. Yeah. I'm going to try and take inspiration. I'm going to try and dig out that tennis book, because I need to up my game a little bit.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you mean with the confidence thing. I suffer from that a hell of a lot. Even coming in here today, this is episode 29, I think 28 of the podcast. We've done them and I've enjoyed them all, but for one reason or another, I was especially nervous about today, because it was yourself, Ardal, and the stature you have in my head, and in the nation's head, and the fact that you're, I suppose, not a footballer, but you are a footballer, if you know what I mean. But you were never a professional footballer. So I was kind of going, how's this going to go today? And I hope I don't bore Ardal or ask him stupid questions. But so far it's okay, is it?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
You sure?
Yeah.
No, he's jet lagged. He's still jet lagged. We have him where we want him. Not only that, you're obviously widely known as a great actor, and a comedian, but also an author as well. You brought out a novel there a good few years ago, which was brilliant reviews. Did so well for you. Talk of the Town. But I also read that when I went to America, it was called Knick Knack Paddywhack.
Yeah.
What the DDI was that all about?
I have no idea. They just so an American publisher picked it up, which was great on the one hand, and then they just told me they're changing the name.
We've read this and we've come up with a title.
Yeah, because I think the Talk of the Town had a different significance over there, or whatever. So it's an expression, the Talk of the Town.
Yeah,
and I suppose for my book, it was like the character in it. Like eventually, because of certain things that happened in the book, he was the talk of the town. So it's kind of like that. But over there, the Talk of the Town was a very famous gossip column in the New Yorker magazine, and that's what people would recognise it from. So they didn't want to go with that title. So then they just wanted a punchy title. And around that time, like Roddy Doyle had a book, I remember, Paddy Clark, ha ha ha.
Yes.
And there was other books with kind of catchy little titles like that. So they used Knick Knack Paddywhack.
Right. And you were like, yeah, whatever, as long as it sells.
Well, yeah, it didn't sell.
Okay.
But you like, I mean, I was just chuffed that they picked up the book, and that a serious New York American publisher picked it up and rated it enough to go with it. So I wasn't going to stand in the way. I thought the market over there. What you do.
I don't do enough reading, Ardal, but what I do is when I'm travelling around the country doing gigs, I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Okay.
And I went looking for your book on whatever it's called, Audible, and I couldn't find it.
What?
I couldn't find it. Talk of the Town, because when I did Talk of the Town, all that came up was about 11 different podcasts called Talk of the Town.
Yeah,
and
it probably isn't. There mightn't be an audio version of that. There is an audio version of my more recent novel, Brouhaha.
Right. Well, that's going straight into the Audible account.
That's
Audible 5 free credits left.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I spent a week reading that. So I know that's there. I definitely know that's there.
So that's what I love when I'm reading books by certain authors. I love hearing it in their voice, because there's I know you form your own opinions and whatever, and you dream up your own landscapes and filmscapes and all that. But when you hear it from the author's voice, you know exactly what they meant.
Yeah,
as opposed to trying to.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But it's a really weird process, like reading your own book, because like as some occasional actor, your temptation would be to really dramatize it and act out all the different parts and everything else. But you can't really do that with a book. You can kind of just subtly, introduce some variation between the characters, but, it's not a drama. It's still a book.
Yeah. And you also, in your acting career as well, Ardal, you did a lot of theatre.
Yeah, a bit. No, not an awful lot.
Well, I mean, I was still blown away by the fact that you're in Dancing with Lunasa.
Yeah.
And what was the chaos one in the Gay Theatre you did with Owen Rowe and
Yeah. God of Carnage.
that's it.
Yeah.
How did you find theatre, Ardal? And the reason I'm asking that is because, like, obviously we're both comedians, we're both used to being on stage, but it's a completely different beast.
Yeah, it's
theatre,
very different,
isn't it?
It's really different.
I'm glad you're saying that.
But I
Ardal,
do
it's not just
think
me.
that like the stand-up really steals you for it, or you're well armed as a stand-up comedian, I think, to do theatre. But it is very much teamwork, and it's about listening and tuning into other people's wavelengths and everything else. But it's a really amazing process. I've been lucky enough to do not that many plays in my life, 4 or 5 in total. I did one the early part of this year in London, Dancing at Lunasa, and then 10 years before that when I did the Weir Conor McPherson play in London. And they were both like incredible experiences.
And when you say difficult, Ardal, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's not like I don't think it's like it's not any more difficult than any other medium. I don't think it's just when you're coming from a comedy background, I think people are always going to be slightly suspicious of you, or they're going to think you're not a real actor. So you've always got to overcome that, I suppose, perception for a start.
And prove your mettle kind of thing.
Prove your mettle, absolutely. Yeah. So it's about really doing your homework, being really, really well prepared, I think. And then, like, the brilliant thing about theatre, though, is compared to TV or anything, is you get loads of rehearsal time. So you've got like 6 weeks, 7 weeks if you're lucky, to really go deep and find the rhythm and find your character and really understand what you're saying, So you've got loads of time to really just do your research, thorough investigation, deep dive into the play, the character, the world, the themes, everything. Yeah. So it's a really brilliant collaborative experience. And as a stand-up, we spend far too much time on our own.
Mm-hmm.
We do. And traveling on your own a lot of the time, on stage on your own, which is can be a lonely place. And then afterwards, that you come down from your high pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And you drive home again or whatever, and you eat crisps.
Yeah.
But
and stop off with Apple Green and get yourself a jam on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, to actually do a play is just magical. And, obviously you have to be lucky enough that it's a good play, good cast and all the rest, and that it goes well. But
I suppose I did a play before lockdown, Ardal. Now, it was the most challenging thing I've ever done, because to all intents and purposes it became a one-man play because it was with Dustin the Turkey.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Owen Colfer, who wrote all those Artemis Fowl books, he wrote this play about it's about Dustin's road to redemption. He was like the pariah of our society after the Eurovision and all that kind of thing. So I played his best mate called Brady. So essentially it's me on stage, and there's a van on stage, half a van, and Dustin's sitting in the van, but I'm on stage for the whole 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and then there's a break, and then I'm on stage for the whole 45, 50 minutes of the second half. So it was the memory of the lines. Whereas the guy, now, I don't know if there's young kids out there listening to this podcast, but Dustin isn't real. And and the guy who was operating Dustin, Johnny Morrissey, an absolutely brilliant man to work with, he was just reading the lines under the van. So I had that pressure. And I also felt the pressure because when we do our stand-up, Ardal, it's our writing, and you're like, like her a lumpet, Yeah. Whereas when you're trying to remember someone else's lines, you're trying to give that the justice it deserves.
Yeah.
And I felt that pressure. I'd be honest with you, it broke me. It nearly broke me in half, and we missed the first night of opening because I still didn't know all my lines.
Wow.
Yeah. And okay, look, I feel like I'm on the
well,
it was a chastening experience.
No, absolutely. But like the recent play I did, Dancing at Lunasa, like it's a revered Irish play.
Yeah.
We're doing this for a London audience, so it's really special. We're all really passionate about it, and it's a big cast. There's 8 of us in the cast, 7 of them Irish. So people are really passionate about this, and you really want to do it justice. The Friel family are going to be in watching it. And
wow, there's a pressure.
It is a big pressure, and it's a massive pressure, and we're doing it on this big stage in the National Theatre in London.
Nice.
And, so it's big pressure all the time, and you really want to honour every word. So like I start learning my lines about 3 months in advance.
Wow, you see, that was the lesson I didn't learn.
Yeah.
I went into rehearsals learning the lines.
But that's just me panicking and like thinking I don't want it to be me that's going to let the side down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm going to come into that rehearsal room knowing this inside out. So then you can start really enjoying it because you've got the bedrock of knowing the text inside out, and now it's finding the meaning and finding the collaboration.
Brilliant. But before, like we could talk all day now about acting and all that. And I've lots to learn from this man. But this is a football podcast. Before we let you go, Ardal, Leeds at the moment, under what's his name, Daniel Farke. Are you hankering for the Bielsa days?
Well, I mean, I love the Bielsa days. I mean, it was like something I'd never seen before. It just was, it was
pure entertainment, wasn't it?
Pure entertainment, just chaos, and it was pure joy seeing them come in and light up the Premiership that first season. They really did. It was just fantasy football. It was just wonderful to watch. But I think every Leeds fan, to a man or woman, by the end of that second season, they knew the writing was on the wall. They just knew, like, everyone loves Bielsa, loves him dearly, but knew that it wasn't sustainable. Like, it just wasn't. The results were
He wasn't a man for
shocking.
changing. Yeah,
He wasn't going to bend. He wasn't going to change his ways. He had flogged those poor players to death. They had given him everything, and there was nothing left in the tank. There was nothing there. Other teams had found them out, and a bit like Ireland, there were players playing way above their
individual level,
what amateurs like us would consider to be their level. You know what I mean? So, and they were given everything, and they were like incredible. So you couldn't fault them in any way, but it wasn't sustainable. And then then there was just some incredibly poor decisions made in terms of the people they brought in, the players they brought in, the managers they brought in. Sam Allardyce. Like, seriously.
How did you feel? Disappointed.
Just wanted to give up at that point. And Jesse Marsh as well. Like, you're just thinking, this is not the answer. And then him buying loads more American players, more Americans. That is not the solution. So, I mean, and this season has been very strange because, like, it started off terribly.
Yeah.
And with discontent in the camp. And terrible results going against us, and then suddenly a string of really good results, and now back to square one again.
Yeah, the defeat against Southampton there.
Yeah.
Do you think they got promoted?
No, I don't think they will. I think, like, they just about have a squad that's capable of getting promoted if everyone stays fit and if it gels, but it's not gelling yet. It's not quite there yet.
Yeah, I suppose Leicester are the team that looked like the dominant team in that championship.
Yeah,
I think they kept most of the squad from last season as well, so they look like to be the team to beat.
To be honest with you, I haven't seen much of it, like, because I was away for the last few weeks, and so I'm not totally up to speed with who else is doing what in the championship.
Yeah. Okay, so Bielsa now manager of Uruguay. What a concoction that is, Ardal.
Yeah.
When you think about his attacking philosophy and what they're renowned for, which is defensive, kicking lumps out of players, and then attacking with all the flair and speed in the world, they will be box office. I can't wait to see Uruguay at the next World Cup or the South American Championship. Okay, so like all good podcasts, we have come to an end. Ardal, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Really,
and thank you so much for coming in. And I know you've been jet lagged, and listen, the best of luck with all your endeavours. And I can't wait to see you on stage very, very soon.
Thanks a million, Eric. Absolute pleasure.
Cheers, Ardal. That has been episode 28 of House of Football. You know the story, lads. Like, subscribe, leave us a review on iTunes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to us and join in the conversation. Leave a comment below. We'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.
You've been listening to House of Football, brought to you by Sports Joe.